Welcome to C4A Academy. In this episode, we will discuss how non-speakers with autism have a motor disorder, not a cognitive one. How non-speakers are capable learners who often have dysregulation. We will define spelling and typing as well as dyspraxia. We will describe how dyspraxia affects the eyes. The lesson will end with showing how a communication partner coaches a non-speaker's motor movements to type. These videos focus on non-speakers with autism, but we believe they can also help non-speakers with other conditions such as Down syndrome and cerebral palsy. Let's get started.
Hello, Elizabeth, Judy, and me, Ginny, want to welcome you to C4A Academy. We are going to try to do our best to show you how to teach your non-speaker with autism how to spell and type. So Judy is the practitioner. Elizabeth is an expert typer who's going to pretend to be in her first lesson. And I am a parent who is very nervous trying to make sure that I do the right thing and learning how to do this, and we want to help you.
I am excited to share my thoughts with you throughout these lessons. We stop the action like this, so I can add a non-speaker's perspective to the conversation. A motor disorder, not a cognitive one.
Every single speller that comes in, I give them the following speech. Tell them that the one thing I know about them is if they're diagnosed with autism and they are non-speaking, minimally speaking, or unreliably speaking, I already know that they have normal cognitive intellect, and I already know that they know how to read, and they know how to spell, and they have normal language in their head. That said, what happens is, I then ask them to spell words they already know how to spell. This is because it is a motor exercise, not a cognitive exercise.
Capable learners.
It's really wonderful when you talk about all the students that you have seen and how they are all cognitively completely capable learners, and that it is a motor issue, and that we have to keep changing the way people see this in our schools and out in the world.
These are the things that I already know. I already know you're not cognitively impaired. So bear with me while we get through this initial phase, which is not fun for them, really, because it's annoying and frustrating. I mean, if somebody said to you, touch the A, and you couldn't touch the A, pretend that you are a quadriplegic, you can't touch the A, and then everybody starts treating you like you're cognitively impaired.
This first phase of getting your body to settle down and touch the letters can be frustrating, but please know that we have broken down the movements so that you can succeed with practice. Disregulation.
Many students will be very dysregulated, not be able to control their bodies. So they may want to fling the pencil across the room.
Also true.
So what do you do to help and to make parents understand that your child doesn't have to sit quietly in the chair as Elizabeth has learned to do because she's been typing for 20 years. In the beginning, she was running around the room too. So how do you help parents?
Actually, that's a great question. I usually find that between 4 and 5 sessions, for students who are highly dysregulated, it takes for them to get to know me, to be comfortable, and to get them to be able to sit. Some of the very young students, it could take well more than that.
I know sitting still can be challenging for us. I know many non-speakers with very dysregulated bodies that learn to type. Our bodies tend to calm down when we can express ourselves.
Elizabeth started to type by pointing. When I say type, by the way, I mean spelling and typing as pointing to letters when she was 5.
Right.
And we are just lucky enough to have found a teacher. That's what she wants for everyone. That's why we're making these films, is to make sure, as Elizabeth says in her mission, that everyone should have a voice and that everyone should be able to learn how to do this. So if you can see a practitioner like Judy, you should see them. If you are not able to, then we hope that these films will get you to the place where your child can have a voice.
My son Alex did not start to spell until he was 25 and a half years old.
Yes.
I did not understand the difference between the cognitive, even though I have the training.
Judy is trained as a special education teacher. Parents, please don't beat yourselves up for not doing this sooner. You didn't know.
This motor impairment. I didn't get it. Nobody ever really explains to any of us what dyspraxia really is.
Dyspraxia defined.
Yes.
But the fact that it meant that Alex couldn't volitionally get his body to do what he wants was never explained to me.
Yes.
And that's the single most important fundamental thing for anybody to understand. Just because they're not doing what you want them to do when you ask them to do it doesn't mean they didn't understand you. It means they're thinking about it, so now they can't.
That's right, Judy. We often can't get our bodies to move on demand. That's why we need to practice touching the letters until it becomes automatic for us.
A very clear example is that some people, and you told us you had this experience too, of putting A, B, C on the table,
Right.
and then sort of saying touch A, and they touch the C, and you're thinking, okay, they really don't understand.
But what I thought.
But it is this motor issue, and it is not that they don't understand.
Right.
We have to train them, gross motor, to get it up in the shoulder, to get them to point correctly.
And get their eyes to move too.
And their eyes to move too.
Yes, I remember agonizing ABA sessions when I was little where I just could not touch the right answer even though I knew what it was. We will teach your communication partner to help you overcome your dyspraxia so you can point to the right letters to communicate. Dyspraxia and the eyes.
Dyspraxia heavily affects the eyes, and interestingly, my original training was teaching the blind visually impaired. And I noticed well before Alex was even diagnosed with autism that when he focused on things, he tended to focus in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons is that people with dyspraxia tend to have difficulty refocusing. So if I'm looking at Ginny and she's, let's say, 3 or 4 feet away, and then I say, now look at the tabletop,
Yes.
Alex was still looking 3 or 4 feet away, which meant he looked kind of through the tabletop at a point below it and wasn't actually looking at the material on the tabletop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important for people to understand that this is a motor issue, that even the muscles of the eyes are affected, and that we have to train by repetitive teaching over and over. Get the A. I'm going to help you get to the A until I don't have to help you get to the A anymore.
That's right.
Yes, the eyes are tricky for many of us. You may see me close my right eye to focus on the work. This is my way of dealing with my eye dyspraxia. CP coaching.
The body needs to be coached, just like a sport,
Absolutely.
and that you coach with a lot of support, or we even talk about riding a bike.
Right.
At the beginning, you have training wheels. Then you take the training wheels off, and you're doing it independently.
Right.
That's our hope, is that you will learn how to do this coaching, and then you will be able to fade it away, and you'll be able to have your non-speaker have a voice.
You will have a voice by learning how to type. These videos will break down the steps for you, and each one will give you some practice exercises at the end to get you on your way to overcoming your dyspraxia.
But then I liken it to being a tennis coach.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never played tennis, you can't teach somebody to play tennis. You don't know how to play tennis.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to teach each parent how to become a tennis coach so that they can work with their child.
We know you want to get to typing, but we want to make sure you understand why this process takes practice. It will take time for a new typer to get comfortable with each new communication partner. Here, Judy coaches one of her students who is early in his journey.
Ready? Ready? Dysfunction. Here we go. Eyes are top right, all the way, Julian. Come up and look. Up and look. Top right. Look next door. Move over. Good. D, good. Down and get it. Bottom shelf. Y, move. Up and get it. Top left corner. D, Y, all the way. S, and bottom shelf. Down and get it. Look, look. F, beautiful job. Up and get it. Look, look. U, and all the way. Bottom corner, in the corner. Down and get it. And up and get it. Almost there. Look, look. C, good. Up and get it. Top shelf. T, and all the way. Bottom corner. I, N. Down and get it. O, N, all the way. What? N. Beautiful job.
We hope this episode helped you better understand the challenges we non-speakers face with dysregulation and dyspraxia. In this episode, we hope you learned Non-speakers have a motor disorder, not a cognitive one. Dysregulation occurs when our bodies are out of our control. Typing is pointing to letters on a letterboard or pressing them on a keyboard. Non-speakers are affected by dyspraxia. Dyspraxia is when the body does not do what the mind tells it to do. Both the body and eyes can be affected by dyspraxia. CPs coach us to overcome our dyspraxia to type. Your movement exercises for this episode are to do these 2 intentional movement workouts you can find on YouTube. Click on the links in the description below to access the videos. Please do these exercises over the next several days until they become fluid movements. You can do this. Families, please remember, I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. I'm telling you it's going to be worth it. Here it is, your moment of Zen.
I C no okay I B E L I E. Look for it. Look, baby. Look. B-E-L-I-E and okay. V. Okay, I believe. M-A-N. Y. I believe many. Q. Okay, I believe many. Reset and go. Where are you going? Okay, P and E and O and P. You had it. You had your finger on it. P and L. I believe many. Get it, Luke. Look. People. I believe many people. W and look. I and L and B and E and look for it, lovebird. N and E and find it with your eyes. F, good. I and I believe many people will benefit. Find it. F and R and O and M and T and H, good. E, good. S, move. E and V, look. Find it. I, good. D and E and O and S. I believe many people will benefit from these videos. I think